because that was my journey at the time where I was. That made more sense to me to
Hmm.
just buy each section at a time.
Yeah.
In hindsight, I really think that I should have just bought the pro course. If I were to do everything over again and known better, I probably just would have bought the pro course at the very beginning.
Welcome to another episode of the CPA Exam Experience podcast from SuperfastCPA. In today's episode, you're going to hear Nate and I talking to Hyrum. Hyrum is actually somebody that I knew in my master's program. I didn't get to know him super well because he was kind of starting his master's at the same time I was ending my master's. But I remember one day walking past him in the hallway and he was talking to somebody about this product he was using, SuperfastCPA. And I stopped and I was like, hey, I'm using SuperfastCPA. And, I talked to them. And again, I didn't really get to talk to him very much out of the master's classes, but we were able to talk to him on this podcast, and he has an awesome story. Hyrum was kind of your non-traditional student where he was doing school part-time and working full-time most of the time. And when he started going to school, he wasn't really sure what he wanted to do. He just knew that he wanted to be successful. And over time, he decided to go into accounting. And then, of course, like most people find out, he found out that it's a good idea to do the CPA exam. So he started going for that. And he got SuperfastCPA fairly early on in his process. And in this interview, you'll see how he had the determination and he had the grit, as he called it, to push through this difficult exam while he was working, while he was going to school. He had a child and all of these difficult things. So I think this is a great episode for, again, showing that you can do this no matter where you are in your life. He had a goal to pass the CPA exam and hopefully become a CPA before he was 30. And at the time of the interview, he was close to turning 29. So I'm assuming that he was able to reach his goal of becoming a CPA before 30, but the big step was, of course, passing the CPA exam, and he was able to do that with his determination and with the help of the SuperfastCPA CPA materials, and you'll hear him talk a lot about that. Now, before we dive into the interview, I want to give everyone another reminder, as always, about the SuperfastCPA CPA training webinar on superfastcpa.com. That is 1 hour that will save you literally months of time failing these exams, because we will teach you the key ingredients to passing the CPA exam so you don't waste months or even years of your time failing the exams. So make sure you check out the webinar. Again, it's free. It's only 1 hour long. The link will be in the description of this podcast episode. So make sure you check that out. And also make sure you check out becoming a pro member of SuperfastCPA because we have multiple choice question walkthrough videos for just about every topic in FAR, in Audit, and we've done a lot for Reg, TCP, and I just started working on BAR as well. So if you want some extra help with the multiple choice questions, then that is a great resource. So make sure you check that out on YouTube and check out becoming a SuperfastCPA pro member. Now, with all that out of the way, let's dive straight into the interview with Hyrum.
So let's just go back to the beginning. So what got you into accounting originally, and then what made you decide to do the CPA, in addition to just your accounting degree?
Yeah, so I've had a lot of people ask me this question throughout the past few years. It really comes down to after graduating high school and serving an LDS mission, just wanted to do something that would bring success. I didn't know what that was. So I started going to a community college, Salt Lake Community College, taking classes. I knew I wanted to get a bachelor's, at least a bachelor's degree, maybe a master's, but I still didn't know what it was. After taking some classes here and there, I started realizing that my finance classes and my very entry level accounting classes made sense to me. I liked them. I really liked the idea of budgeting. I was really into Dave Ramsey at the time and other finance podcasts, and I just was trying to soak up as much information as I could about finance, budgeting, accounting, and I really started finding this passion for that field. And so around that time, after finishing up my associate's degree, and I really needed to make a decision on what bachelor's degree I was going to take, I decided on either finance or accounting, and really ended up taking more accounting classes and declared that major. And I think that was the right choice. And so then at that point, I knew and I figured that if I'm going to go into accounting, I better get a CPA or a CMA or some other type of accounting certificate. And at the time, CPA made the most sense. Just everyone around me said it was the gold standard. And then also to pursue and get your master's degree, also to get the 150 hours. Not that it was required, but it also made sense to just get the master's degree. And so that's where I'm at now. Just finished my master's degree and finished the CPA exams. And really, what I need next is my hours in order
Mhm.
to actually get my CPA licensure. And so I haven't had an accounting job yet. I have been working in like a finance operations banking role is the
Mhm.
best way I could describe it. And I've been working there for 8 years, really ever since I started my associate's degree. And it's been a great job. I've learned a lot. And I really use that job to really hone in on business skills and get me through school. Now that I'm done with school in the CPA, I'm making this pivot in my career to become an auditor. And so I did
Mhm.
accept a job with Tanner LLC here in
Yeah.
Lehigh. I start working with them in October in just a few weeks. So I'm thrilled, finally ready to jump into auditing and really give that a try and beef up some of my skills as well. So that's kind of where in a nutshell, my
Yeah.
passion for accounting has started.
And
Awesome.
that, I mean, that's pretty cool. I think that's fairly unique, not only to finish your CPA around the same time you finish your master's, because most people wait till after their master's, but also to get well, to finish the CPA exam, excuse me, before you've even really worked in like public accounting at all. Uh, I guess let's just dive into your journey for the CPA. When did you start studying for the CPA? And I guess kind of a secondary question, did your lack of experience in like public accounting specifically, did that play a role at all in your studying, or do you feel like you were just fine without having had that experience? But yeah, what was it like to study for the CPA exam?
Yeah. So you kind of touched on the point where, in other words, I'm kind of an untraditional student. Most students will, when they're starting their bachelor's degree, they'll get an internship,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
upon finishing their bachelor's or maybe their master's, they've accepted offers or they've already had the hours put in, and so as soon as they pass their exams, they're pretty much automatically a CPA, and so my path has been a little bit different. So as soon as I finished my bachelor's degree, is when I started studying for the CPA exam. And so that was, I wrote it down just so I wouldn't forget, but that would have been like December of 2022 is
Hmm.
when I finished my bachelor's degree. And that's really when you can take the CPA. So as
Hmm.
soon as I got my transcripts at the end of December, I went ahead immediately submitted my transcripts to NASBA, and as soon as I got approved, I scheduled my first exam. And during that time in December, before my master's classes started, because I signed up for the master's program that started in January,
Okay, so you
which was
really
kind
had
of which
no
was
break. Yeah, okay. Okay, yeah.
yeah, it was kind of funny because I was taking my first semester for the master's program before I walked and graduated with my bachelor's degree. So that was funny. But it was in December is when I went ahead and just bought the full Becker CPA
Hmm.
exam review. They had like a deal going on for Black Friday, and so I jumped on that. And as soon as I got my books, I started studying, started taking my classes, um, and we'll get into this probably a bit more in detail. But I finished this July of 2024. So it took a total of just about a year and a half
Hmm.
of just full study, including that was finishing up my master's degree
Hmm.
because that took me about a year and a half. So my entire master's program was classes and studying for the CPA exam,
And working full
but and working full time. Yeah,
time.
and I also have a kid. Actually, I have two kids now. We had our second baby girl born in May, so I
That's
graduated,
awesome.
had a baby,
Yeah,
got my
congrats.
final score
Lots
releases in
happening. Yep.
July. Yeah, just tons happening. But the entire time of working full time, master's degree, studying for the CPA, including Becker and using SuperfastCPA CPA for a year and a half with a child. It really was a lot. It was um, a lot of grit, a lot of determination,
Hmm.
and and a lot of telling myself my why. My why was I want to get my CPA before I'm 30. That was kind of like my big goals. I wanted to get my CPA before I turned 30 years old. I'm turning 29 in just a month, and so I'm right on track.
Nice.
I'm hoping to get my hours in within the year and fulfill that goal. Um, but after taking one semester with my master's program, I went ahead and sat for the FAR CPA
Hmm.
exam. And during that time, I had only used the Becker materials,
Okay. Yeah, I
which
was gonna ask that. Yeah.
I hadn't started using the SuperFast CPA yet. I loved Becker. I haven't really used any other CPA software
Hmm.
other than Becker and SuperFast CPA. But I went ahead and took the FAR exam in May as soon as I could take it, and I didn't pass it. I actually failed FAR, and it was like after taking it for the first time, it was kind of a blow. Thinking,
Hmm.
crap, I didn't do this.
And you'd been
I think I
studying for
got
like 4 or 5 months, right?
yeah. I had been studying for months. Well, of course, the whole semester, and it seemed like forever.
Hmm.
And so after that, I knew I needed to retake it. And so after just tons of Googling, like, hey, how do you like make a combat from this? I came across Superfast CPA was one of the links. I watched one of the videos on YouTube. And even before watching the link, I had seen ads for
Yeah.
Superfast CPA, but I didn't really know what it was before. Um, but I really took that seriously. And so I went ahead and bought um, the FAR section. I didn't buy the full bundle. I just bought the FAR section. I figured that's all I needed at the time, and so I said, okay, I'm going to do this for like 4 or 5 weeks. I think what is what it was. I think in that video, Nate, I think you recommended 2 or 3 weeks, depending on kind of how close I was. I was really close. I think I got a 71 or 72,
Okay.
and so I started just nonstop reading the notes,
Hmm.
listening to the audio notes for a few weeks, and went ahead and took the exam again. And I didn't pass. I actually got a lower score than the 72. I got like I think a 67, and so I was a bit upset. Yeah,
Well,
just
so
mainly with myself. Yeah, go ahead.
with that, like, why did you keep using super fast CPA after that? Like, I guess because you
Yeah.
got a worse score. So what happened there?
Yeah, well, I really loved. I'll get more into that. I
Okay.
really loved the products that you guys have, specifically the audio notes.
Hmm.
If I were to recommend super fast CPA to anyone for one specific reason, I'd say the audio notes, and because they were just great. I listened to them all the time. So I went ahead and asked for a refund because you said I could ask for a refund if I use your product and didn't pass, and you did give me a refund. And part of that
Okay.
time, but and then I thought, I got to give FAR a rest. I have been studying so much. This was like my first and second time, two fails. I really felt frustrated, and I knew something not necessarily was going wrong, but I needed to kind of refocus myself,
Mm.
get new literature to reset my mind. And so I started studying for BEC, and I thought, well, I really liked the audio notes from Superfast CPA, so I thought I'd give you guys another try. So I went ahead and bought the BEC section, and that was in, I think, just the end of July is kind of
Mhm.
when I got my scores for the FAR for the second time. And so I started studying just nonstop BEC. It was over the summer. I only had, I think, 2 classes online at UVU, and so I really had a lot of time to study. And so just nonstop using the audio notes. I would read the book over and over again. I'd probably read 20 to 30 pages, sometimes even more, every single day. And actually, what I did is with the PDF, I went ahead and I printed it out
Mm.
because it was kind of hard for me to read off the phone, and I
Mhm.
wasn't always using my laptop. So I printed it out and I would take notes, and I'd take sticky notes and I'd read. And really, what helped me the best is, and in there, like things that you suggested in lots of your videos, was to do that 2 hour study session. It wasn't necessarily getting a timer and starting 2 hours. It was the idea of sitting down and just taking multiple choice questions. And I would do like a set of 30, and then I maybe do another set of 30. And as soon as I would finish that, I would go through each question. Some days I'd do all of them, depending on how much time I had. the ones I got wrong and the ones I got right. And some days, probably most of the time, I'd just go over the ones I got wrong, and I'd get a piece of paper and I'd write out like logically, like, what is it saying, what are the steps to get the right, what is the right question. And I would think about it. I would even talk about it out loud to myself. And that was just kind of something I did every single day, is just a cumulative 30 MCQ study repeat. When I would get up in the morning, I would go for a run, I'd listen to the audio notes. When I would get ready for the day, if I had to commute somewhere, I would listen to the notes. And so anyways, with that, I really fell in love with the product after failing FAR 2 times. And I took BEC in September, and I passed. And I got I believe it was an 84%. And so
Nice.
doing that, like using that and studying for 3 months, passing BEC really boosted my self esteem. And I thought, wow, this really is possible. This can be done. And I really ought to give it some more thought. So then immediately after getting that, I started studying for audit. I bought the audit section for SuperfastCPA, and I also had some audit classes with
Mm-hmm.
school for the master's program. So I had a lot going on, um, and I studied for about 2 months. I felt prepared. I took audit and I didn't pass. I took it again and I didn't pass, but I kept studying, and I realized my why was like, this can be done. One of the quotes from Peter Olinto and Becker is, he would always say, "You can and you will do this." And so that really stuck with me, and I thought, I just need to keep doing this. Every time I fail is not a fail. It's just an opportunity for me to learn, an opportunity for me to dive deeper into the literature, and just give it a try again. It's for me, I didn't feel like it was a race. Like I wasn't racing with any of my colleagues. It was my journey, and it was something I really wanted. Um, so I took audit a few more times. In total, I took audit 5 times, and I finally passed it with a 76. So I almost
Nice.
had a perfect score,
Yeah.
because 75 is that perfect score.
Yeah.
And so I don't know why audit gave me the hardest time and BEC gave me the easiest time, but that's just how it is. I know it's different for everyone else. I think, Logan, you've mentioned
I'm the
BEC was
opposite.
your
Yeah, I
hardest.
hated
Yeah,
BEC. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, it
yeah,
just depends on the person. You're right.
yeah. It really just depends. So I went ahead in the spring. I took reg. I did pass that one the first time,
Nice.
and then I retook audit, or not audit. I retook FAR, and then passed that. So FAR took me 3 times,
Hmm.
and I did actually pass it with a 75. So that was exciting.
Nice.
So none of my scores, I wouldn't say I'm the smartest person out there. I didn't always score the highest, but it was just so exhilarating to finally get that passing score. And like I remember getting those scores releases in July, and I just started crying and sobbing, because I thought, this is it. I'm done.
Yeah.
I was ready to go buy another um, uh, test retake. I had it in my budget. I had it set aside and ready to just go buy it and reschedule my exam. So that was so exciting to finally find out that I passed. So it was interesting. I went, after going back and looking at all of the tests I've done. So in total, I've done, I've taken the CPA exam, different sections, a
Hmm.
total of 10 times. And so some people are able to get them done really fast. It took me a little bit longer, but to me, that was totally okay, because I didn't give up. And part of, some of those difficulties along the journey was getting those fails, and having to go through that process again was really hard. But I knew I just needed it, just to keep going. It wasn't a race. This is what I wanted, and I knew
Yeah.
I was going to learn more each time. Um, so so with that being set aside, going back, talking more about the super fast CPA material, I really enjoyed the audio notes. I said that a few times. I'm going to say that again, because I want whoever is listening to this to really consider what you guys have to offer that other study programs don't is your audio notes. They're excellent. They're something that you can listen to when you go for a run, when you drive in the car, you're commuting to work, you're getting ready for bedtime. Listen to those audio notes. They were just so helpful. And then your written notes, they were much more concise and much smaller than the Becker material. The Becker
Mhm.
material really gave you everything
Mm-hmm.
as far as their modules go, and it takes longer to get through those. Whether and then with your books, you're able to get through them much faster. I don't know if you guys have thought about this for the future, but I would recommend printing your own textbooks and sending those out to people. um, I really felt having, for me, a physical copy really
Yeah.
made the difference because it's
Hmm.
something I could take around with me everywhere I go and take notes, put a sticky note in, and again, like I would just read it over and over again.
I loved having the, like, for me personally, and again, this isn't for everybody, but it seems like it was like this for you as well. I printed out the review notes back when I was, using Superfast CPA myself, and
Hmm.
what I did is I like three hole punched them and put them in a 3-ring binder. But I did the same thing as I took handwritten notes. I did flashcards still, but I took handwritten notes on the Superfast CPA review notes so that I had everything in one place and I could kind of explain things to myself. Or if, because, our review notes are, like you said, like they're just to the point. And occasionally there was something that was like, oh, I want to explain this to myself a bit more, and I could do that if I had it printed out. So I really liked that as well. So it's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of people say that, or I mean, on these interviews, a lot of people have had printed them out. Um, so one thing you mentioned, you said on your BEC. Now you didn't retake BEC, right?
I took that once.
Okay. When you were describing BEC, you described how on that exam you really dug into the MCQs and like really it seems like you picked up the idea of like active studying. Was that from one of our videos and was that new to your BEC attempt? Like was it something you watched from
Mm.
us that you applied differently to that BEC attempt?
Yeah, it was. So after like failing FAR for the first time, I picked up super fast CPA and really tried to use everything that you guys recommended for FAR. Even though I didn't pass, I think it's just because FAR was a harder topic for me and
Mm-hmm.
I just needed more time for that. And so I used the same study method that you guys recommend for BEC. And because I had, I think, more time, I was able to put more time into it and just really delve into all of the literature kind of all at once instead of one module at a time and forgetting that module. I would study the modules. I did use Becker and I would go through all the modules, but
Mm-hmm.
using Superfast CPA helped me kind of go back to some of those modules and information that I hadn't touched for a while. And so yeah, going back, the biggest thing that helped me realize was doing those MCQs just over and over and over again and making sure I write out what I got wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, that was the game changer for me is doing that versus just watching a lecture,
Mhm.
taking some MCQs, get them wrong, do some sims, move on to the next lecture. It was just over and over again cumulative, so that I made sure I grasped some of those main hard topics.
Yeah. And just to clarify, to make sure I'm understanding this right. So you found Superfast CPA. Did you watch the 1 hour webinar? Is that
Mhm.
okay? So you watched that,
Yep.
and then you never bought the pro course. You just bought each bundle as you needed it. So just, yeah. So you used the webinar and I guess the podcasts and then like the study material. Is that what you used from Superfast CPA?
It
Okay.
is, and
Okay.
and and I wanted to add on to that because that was my journey at the time where I was. That made more sense to me to
Hmm.
just buy each section at a time.
Yeah.
In hindsight, I really think that I should have just bought the pro course. If I were to do everything over again and known better, I probably just would have bought the pro course at the very beginning because there was a lot of stuff I noticed that I didn't have access to that I wish I did. And then if I just had all the material, that's what I used anyways. And so I would recommend to other people to just buy the pro course, get everything all at once.
Yeah, I mean, you if you listen to all these interviews and then like we have like YouTube videos where it's kind of just me talking on one like specific aspects of the study process, you really can kind of parse out all the main strategies from the pro course. But
Mm-hmm.
the benefit is it's just there sequentially in one spot, straight to the point. Like this is like step one, step two. Here's what each day should look like.
Yep.
So it is just, yeah, it's like easier to have the pro course. But we've had multiple people on here that, I mean, we've even had people on this that never bought anything, but they emailed and said, I just listened to your podcast and watched the free training and it turned around my studying. And so, anyways, so anything in between. But yeah, I
Yeah.
think that is ideal, because it's just all in one place for you. Well, yeah. So I just picked that up from your story. It sounded like as soon as that like clicked for you to really dig into the MCQs and kind of like wrestle with them, basically,
Mm-hmm.
write out what didn't make sense and you explained it to yourself out loud until it did make sense. You pass BEC. Audit is different kind of for that strategy, really, because there's not really calculation stuff. It's kind of just audit's just different, and for people who didn't have previous experience in audit, it's can easily be the hardest exam. But then you go on and pass reg and FAR on, after
Yeah.
that.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, after that
Yeah.
realization, you pass
Yep.
those on your first time after that. But yeah, so that really is kind of the base of this whole process. Like, no matter what strategy, or if someone even is wanting to watch every video, read every chapter, at some point you have to gain that skill of being able to just reverse engineer practice questions, basically. Like you
Mm-hmm.
have to figure that out eventually. Um, yeah, no matter what else you're doing.
And
Yeah.
and kind of along with that, so we were talking about, wrestling with the MCQs. What did you have a specific process for things that were giving you a really hard time? Because in general, there's just learning from the MCQs, but then there's also like there will be topics that you just no matter you just really struggle with. Did you have a different process for those topics?
Um, I couldn't really pinpoint like a specific process that was different. I would say that with some of the harder topics, it was just having to go back
Over
and
and over.
watch a video, do an
Mm-hmm.
MCQ. And sometimes, like, for some of those questions that I kept getting wrong, like, I would just keep writing it out. And so I'd have some questions where I've written out like 10 times. It's taken a whole page because I keep going back to it. But really what it comes down to for me is you just really have to take the time. It's
Mm-hmm.
nothing that you can just look over once and then pass the exam. You really have to take the work,
Yep.
study hard, read a lot, do tons of multiple choice questions. And I haven't really said much about the sims, but I also did a lot of sims. Like I threw that into the mix. Like every single day I was at least doing one sim along with like the 30 multiple choice
Mm-hmm.
questions. And like I made it a goal to, do all of the multiple choice questions in Becker and do all of the simulations in Becker and making sure that I got it right and not just having had done it. And so it's like doing a lot of things over and over again. Also, I also used the app that you guys have for the multiple
Mm-hmm.
choice questions. I
Okay.
didn't use that as much as I did Becker. Becker was like my 2 hour session.
Yeah.
I would sit down, for hours and just do multiple choice questions in Becker using that software. But you guys even recommend to use the 5 questions on the app when you're out and about. And I wasn't like 100% using that, but I did use that during times when I felt really motivated or I had a lot of time to study. I would do that, and those things are really helpful because um, because I don't have time to write out the notes because I probably don't have a pen and a paper. And so
Mm-hmm.
when I did those and I would get it wrong, it was just more reading, and it was just kind of a different study method that was also supplemental to. So, when you don't have time to study for an hour or two, I think the MCQ questions on the app, doing that five just over and over again, really helped when I didn't have my laptop or pen and paper.
Yep. The
Yeah,
idea.
we always tell people that, like, to try and use our study tools, like all of them throughout the day at different
Yeah.
times, because they all kind of hit your brain differently, and
Hmm.
they fit. The audios, obviously you can be doing other things, like you said, getting ready in the morning, riding a bike. What did someone say? Like like when they bike, wasn't
Yeah,
that
mountain biking and
yeah,
road
mountain
biking and
biking,
stuff like
whatever.
that.
Or if you have like 5 or 10 minutes, then it makes sense to like read the notes. If you only have a few
Hmm.
minutes, one of our quizzes takes like 60 seconds. So yeah,
Yeah.
there's just things to use depending on just how it fits in that moment throughout the day. But yeah, it really works best to use all three, because they just kind of hit your brain differently.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing you were working normal office hours. So like, how was an average day for you? Would you
Yeah.
do the 2 hours in the morning and then you had like a regular job and then you were doing school at night, or how did you fit all that in on the
Yeah.
average
So
day?
a typical day would be waking up anywhere between 5 to 6 in the morning, and really taking time to study for at least an hour before having to start work. And so that's what a typical morning would be like, 5 to 6 a.m., and then work. And then in the evenings was difficult because usually I would have night classes. I was a part-time student throughout my associate's, bachelor's, and master's degree, and so I'd always take night classes, and it was usually anywhere from 2 to 3 classes a semester. Some classes were offered online, some were offered in person, and so my evenings really were just study all evening, whether it was going to school, it was homework, I mean, part of the CPA exam journey for me was just homework. It was just another
Yeah.
class I was taking,
Hmm.
basically. I mean, it was definitely the most homework out of all my other classes, but it was a great supplement to my classes, and my classes were a great supplement to the
Hmm.
CPA
Yeah.
exam process. And so I would say, going back, it would be like an hour in the morning. I would work throughout the day, and then in the evenings, class, homework, and then for MCQs. Sometimes, depending on the class, I would commute, and I would use the front runner. It would be like a 30-minute ride on the train down to UVU, and then I would either walk across the bridge or take a bus to get to class. And so that was a good time for me to listen to the Superfast CPA audio notes when I walked across to get to class. And then sometimes I get to class anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour before class. And that was my time where I was able to do my 30 multiple choice
Okay.
questions and just plug that through. Usually it take me anywhere from 30 minutes to 40 minutes before class started. And then at nights when I'd get home to do homework, that was a great time for me to go back and review all of the multiple choice questions that I had gotten wrong. And that sometimes I would be able to get two sets of 30 in, sometimes just one. Even sometimes, I mean, maybe it was 15, because not every day was the same. But
Yeah.
I think the idea of being consistent, and even if one day wasn't perfect, that's okay, because tomorrow is going to be a new day, and I'm going to hit it hard and do as much as I could that day. Also, depending on how much homework I had, some days I didn't have as much homework, so I was able to study more for the CPA. But it's just all about not procrastinating, getting just, if today's Monday or if today's Tuesday, what can I get done today that can give me more time later in the week
Hmm.
to study more for the CPA. Saturdays, usually Saturdays were, I take more time to study depending on what was going on. Always a few weeks out before an exam, every Saturday, I would take the final review.
Hmm.
You'd get the two final reviews, and then no, you'd get the two practice exams
Yeah.
for the main course, and then you'd get the final review exam. So three total. And so 3 weeks out, every Saturday I would take a practice exam.
Yeah.
Um, and then I would review again out of that everything that I got wrong. And so that was kind of a habit for me. So in total, over the year and a half and the 10 exams, I had taken a practice exam at least 30 or 31 times getting through that. So that's kind of what my Saturdays look like.
Yeah. Wow.
So does life just feel easy now? I mean, you don't have to wake up early to study, and you don't have to study all night.
Yeah, life's been great.
Holy
It's
cow! That
been
was
such a relief. Yeah, it's been such a relief to be done with school and studying for the CPAs. I really have a lot more time to spend with my family now, in the evenings, actually, because that's what was hard is kind of like that work-life balance was
I was going to
I,
ask
I
about
put
that.
so
Yeah.
much time, yeah, so much time went into work and school that, I'm sure my family at times thought I was neglecting them because I was just focused and I would tell them that I really needed to study tonight. I couldn't really go out and do fun things. And I would every once in a while, but my focus was study. And I needed to just block out that time to study. And so, um, I really need to give credit to my wife and my daughter because they not only had to sacrifice a lot of that time, but they also encouraged me. My wife always encouraged me to study, and she let me when I would tell her, I really um, can't do this event tonight. I really need to study. She understood and never got mad at me, and so that was very very helpful. And anytime I would fail, she would always be right there telling me, okay, you gotta sign up for your next exam. You just gotta keep studying because this is our life. This is this
yeah.
Yeah.
is what we do. So she's been relieved, such relief that
Yeah.
she has, we as a family have actually have time to go do events and fun things and build memories.
Especially with another baby. Like, I'm
Yeah,
sure that that's like, oh, thank goodness you can like spend a bit more time with a newborn too, you know?
that was a huge concern. Is if I didn't pass my
Yeah.
Yeah.
exams in July, we're just gonna have to keep doing this, and it's gonna be harder adding another baby into the mix.
Mm-hmm.
You got those last
Awesome.
two scores on the same day.
I did. I got my audit and my reg
Nice.
um, on the same day. Mhm.
I bet that was a great day.
It was. I
Oh, you already
audit taken
mentioned
it
it.
five
Yeah, you
times.
mentioned that. I didn't
Yeah, that one.
realize you got two at the
Yeah,
same time. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Those are my last. So like I had to like stop studying. I think in like I took my exams at the beginning of June, right after my baby was born, and then I had like a whole month of waiting for
Mm-hmm.
the exam scores, and so I wanted to take a time off to like reset myself,
Mm-hmm.
because if I didn't pass, then I would just jump right back into it.
Mm-hmm. And luckily, you didn't have to jump back into it.
Yeah.
Is there so you've talked about audio notes, the review notes, a little bit about the quizzes. You talked about your study sessions.
Mhm.
Was there any other part of your process that we haven't gotten to touch on that you've been wanting to share?
Let's see. I wrote some notes down based off those questions. Um, no, that really hits most of the stuff. It really comes down to consistency, grit. For someone who wants to pass a CPA exam, you have to put in the work. You have to study, and that's where I think that getting a CPA preparation course like Becker, for example, is excellent for getting all of the material, and then I think it's super important to get super fast CPA as a supplement course because it just gives you more material. It gives you more stuff to study. The book, the revised version of the notes is excellent. The audio notes, the MCQs. The app that you have is so easy to use, and so I would recommend to anyone to get the supplement for super fast CPA.
Awesome.
Appreciate that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I would too.
Yeah,
Yeah. I don't know if
excellent
you're
product.
I don't know. So I must have, for anybody listening to this podcast, we were talking about this before we started the recording. I kind of, I had met Hyrum because we both went to the same college, and I was just finishing my master's as you were kind of starting it, like right around that same time. And I remember you, I think I heard you talking to somebody else about Superfast CPA, like when I was walking past them. I was like, "Whoa!" Like, hey, I use that too, like, um, but I
Mhm.
didn't get to talk to you that much. But yeah, it's awesome that you found it so helpful as well, because that's pretty much, I felt the same as you, as far as like, this is like, everybody has to have this. It wasn't like a, I think it would be helpful. Like it was, I was, this is the, everybody should be using Superfast CPA. And obviously
Hmm.
that's why I work with Superfast CPA now. Uh, but anyway, it's just awesome to, I don't know if you remember talking to me very much though. Like, do you remember that at all?
No, I do remember that. I remember like it was that class specifically is when I just got like hooked onto super fast
Oh,
CPA, and
okay.
I do remember talking to like, everyone about it because that's what you do in class when everyone's studying for the CPA exam is
Mhm.
everyone talks about their study tips and their process, and so I remember just telling everyone, and then after and then someone told me that you passed your exams, and I remember walking to the car and we talked about that, and
Yeah.
so yeah.
Yeah, it's anyway, it's been awesome to talk to you, Hiram. With I mean, you've pretty much given a very like succinct, and you've said it all really well. Uh I mean, Nate, but are you okay if I like ask the final question?
Let's see. Well, go ahead, and then if I had anything else, I mean, we did kind of cover each part of like the strategy. Yeah, I don't think I had really anything else
All
specific to
right.
ask.
So Hiram, if you could summarize your three top tips for anybody who's going through the CPA exams right now, what would be your top three tips to those people who are still struggling with it?
I would say um, start studying for the exam cumulatively. So taking those multiple choice questions, doing in Becker, and selecting all of the courses, and just start doing that from the very beginning. I would be that would be my first tip that I wish I started earlier. My second tip would be um,
And sorry,
have grit. Yeah.
when you say that, do you mean the cumulative review, or what do you mean when you say that? I'm sorry, I just want to clarify what that means.
Yeah, I think that people should start right away and start taking the like a practice quiz and take 30 multiple choice questions and do that at least once. If they can get two or three times daily, I think
Okay.
taking
Okay.
that from the very beginning instead of waiting until you've gone through all of the material and like for example in
Yeah,
Becker, I say from day one, like using that of course throughout your journey is important,
Yeah.
but from day one, you should be taking a 30 multiple choice question cumulative practice exam that covers all of the material and writing out what you got wrong from day one. That's what
Okay.
I would recommend as like my number one study tip. Um, and then number two is don't wait to start studying for the CPA exam. Like most people will wait maybe either after they get their bachelor's degree or maybe after their master's degree. I would say as soon as you know that you want to be a like get your Becker and get your super fast CPA material, just get it done. Get it and
Hmm.
start studying as fast as you can because the more time that you have to study, the better. And then as soon as you're able or eligible to take the CPA exams, you can take those. So that would be my second tip: get started as soon as possible. And again, it's not a race. Everyone starts at a different time, but as soon as you know, get started. And then number three would just be grit and consistency. Is knowing your why. Like, why do you want this? Because when you do get a fail on exams, that's what gets you through to buying another exam
Hmm.
is your
Yeah.
why and the grit and consistency that you have. Just don't let that define who you are. Just retake it and know that it's not a race, that you really can do this. You just have to put in the time and effort.
yeah. Okay, I know I said I had
Awesome.
no more questions, but I do. So, uh, when you listen to our audios, for example, because a big thing, like I always say this, like there's this thing that's the most important part, but really there's like five or six just strategies that are all so valuable. And if you're doing all
Hmm.
of them, it's hard to go wrong. But re-review is one of them. And our study
Hmm.
tools just make it easy to re-review, because you listen to the audios just
Hmm.
front to back over and over and over. Is that how you did them, or were you trying to find the part you studied that morning and listen to it? Or when you said you used the audios a lot, were you just cycling through all of it just over and over?
I would cycle through the audios over and over again.
Okay.
What helped me was like just using my iPhone. Like they have the Notes app, and so I would listen to one of the episodes, and then as soon as I got somewhere or I needed a pause, I would hurry and write the section that I was on, and I would
Mm.
put a note to say, oh, I've got 20 minutes left, or I've got 5 minutes left. And that really helped me go back, because the app, I can't remember. I don't think that there's a way to like save where you're at. So doing that really helped me, because it was sporadically throughout the day. It would be in the morning I'm listening to it, it'd be on a run. And so when I would study, I wouldn't go back and listen. The listen would just be specifically when I'm by myself, and it just made sense for me to listen to those.
Awesome. Well, yeah. Thanks for doing the interview, Hyrum. It was awesome to hear your story, and I'm glad you came back and gave us a second chance after
Yeah.
the
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, that's funny.
Like I said, if I were to do this again, I would have just bought the pro package, because it's much cheaper than Becker or all the other ones out there. And but I appreciate everything that you guys have done. It's been exciting to meet you, Nate, and to talk to you again, Logan. Thank you so much for everything you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's fun to hear that.
All right, that is the end of the interview with Hyrum. And again, I thought that was a great interview. I think that a lot of people are going to like that, because he wasn't your traditional student, going to school full time, maybe working a little bit, getting an internship, and kind of going straight into public accounting. Instead, he just was trying his best to be successful while also having a job and taking care of a family and going to school part time. And he was able to do all of that and also pass the CPA exams with the strategies from SuperfastCPA and with his determination. And I'm sure that you really liked listening to this episode. I'm sure that you found it really helpful. Now, before we end the episode, I just want to give everyone one more reminder about the SuperfastCPA training webinar on superfastcpa.com. Make sure you go check that out, because it is 1 hour that will save you so much time. So check that out. Check out becoming a pro member as well, because you'll get access to a lot of great walkthrough videos about the different topics in the CPA exam blueprints. And I've made a ton of videos for FAR, for Audit, I made quite a few for Reg and TCP, and I just started making videos for BAR. So make sure you check out those walkthrough videos as well. Now, if you liked this episode, make sure to like it and leave a comment in the YouTube video, or leave a rating in your favorite podcast app. And with all that, again, thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode.